Chapter 15 The Army of Creation. A sky blue unicorn pony with chewed up ears, barely any hair to form a mane, and a completely missing tail, raised his voice at us as bright lights pointed at us, making it incredibly hard to not squint my eyes.
This is my secret creations. This will take Equestria from me, and I will finish the job of the old lab in New Alpaloosa.
He trotted over to the vats of pink goop. The soil here was suspiciously muddy and felt warm, almost like walking on sunshine.
No, it will not. You can be sure of that.
I stopped him stroking his own ego, while the girls were looking around closely. The last time some pony tried to take Equestria by force with an army, we got an all-out apocalypse.
Ain't much of an army around here anyway. You want to stare everyone to death?
Scattershot was getting notably irritated of this guy, and I couldn't fault her.
You'd be like the millionth guy trying that. Not better than any raider boss out there.
But you see, all these living ponies is make war, but we ghouls, we fight.
His horn glowed in almost moss green color, bringing one of the pink bubbly vats to drain, and before we realized it, bodies started to rise from the ground. Not a few or a dozen. This easily looked like a solid 50 plus ghouls with pink eyes.
Show them our power. This is my secret.
Back up the stairs, now!
I yelled at Scattershot and Compound, and they instantly did so. Against this many, we'd have to try and funnel them into a place where we could wear down the numbers. I didn't yet get what was so different about these ghouls. Compound pulled a cork from a bottle in her bag and threw it down the stairs, bursting into flames.
Come on in for cooking.
But what I saw next defied 200 years of in-the-field experience of ghouls. They waited. One of them started to dig up some mud, almost immediately putting out the flames with it, and charged up the stairs.
Y'all ain't supposed to have brains.
Charge! They can't take you all!
I didn't hesitate, mustering up some of my more devious spells. That kind of thing your teachers tell you to not do, but then you do it anyway because you know it's awesome. Scattershot was laying low with her shotgun at the top of the stairs, dishing out rounds, while I made use of a magic energy beam. Very steady that. Excellent for cutting through hordes ever since they rose. A bright sparkle on my horn. Energy drawn to the very tip and erupting in a ray of light blue energy cast from my forehead. Bodies and limbs dropped while Compound watched her back. This was gonna be a standoff, a true test of endurance. But while I quite literally blew some of those ghouls a new hole, and bodies dropped, I realized what someone could do with this. Overrunning towns with hundreds or thousands of smart ghouls, I had to bust this party. I was getting progressively sweaty holding this up, but I was still fine. The pile of bodies in the stairwell was something else. Ghouls could barely get into the entrance anymore, but we had to get down there and deal with their overlord. A few quick teleportation spells and the path was cleared. We charged downwards into what was maybe 10 more ghouls, which fell quickly to a few gunshots, which they tried to dodge, but our gun-nut mare was quicker.
What? You will not stop this creation.
You bet we can. I'll blast any number of ghouls.
I was wiping my forehead and grinning.
It's manure heads like you that make our lives suck more than they need.
With no time to waste, I managed to cast a very precisely aimed lightning strike at the Lunatic, who looked ghoul, but thought pony. Just before I struck him, he managed to cast another spell of his own, opening as many of his pink bubbly tanks as he could, before my spell paralyzed him. I didn't want to kill him, I had to press him for more information.
See?
I counted a total of 3 draining vats. I couldn't react to them quick enough to stop it. This was gonna get ugly, and I had to yet figure out for which side. Before we could bolt for the stairs, ghouls rose from there and all around us. This time I had no strategy to retreat to, nor a safety net to catch me. This was gonna be serious. Like we were at a huge party and we had to fight the whole club. I just didn't know why these ghouls were fighting. They ran at us from all sides. Just as I felt a sharp and painful sting in my side and fried a ghoul for using its horn to rumble,
Yeah, damn it!
I heard Compound squeal as a couple of ghouls sunk their teeth in one of her hinds. I instantly fried the ghouls on Compound with some well-placed magic. Scattershot could barely keep up shooting, just as fast as she could reload.
I don't know if I have enough ammo for this.
Get around me, now!
I got up a magic barrier. It was in a way us cornered.
I pulled a rather notably bleeding compound and a reloading scattershot into my barrier, whose eyes went wide open. It got cracks quick though, and I knew what I had to do. Compound sighed, sitting down.
Look, what do we do? Say our prayers?
I quickly opened my saddlebag. I got some of my own blood on it, but I didn't care. I had one job, and that was to survive with my loved ones alive this time. I downed a bottle of magic potion. I was going to need it. I never back down, even when my odds are this. That's how I've survived the last centuries. Close your eyes, girls. I looked at Scattershot and smiled. It was time for the game changer, the Black Sun. When a creature is cornered, it fights with powers you usually don't see. And for me, it was the same. Survival of the fittest. For me, the spell always was the do or die move, and I was always partially afraid when I cast it that random ponies would think I'm a monster. These sweeties knew better, and they helped me be me. I closed my eyes and charged a sphere of black energy that shined light as bright as the daylight around us, pulsating, shimmering, and building pressure. And with a bright sparkle of my horn, what looked like warping your field of view turned into a bright green explosion, enough to blind you for a few minutes, and incinerate anything organic in the path. Despite this, I had to make this a controlled explosion. Open! I looked around to see, well, a few bodies left, but a few stragglers. I felt a bit dizzy, but I was still with it enough to end them fast.
Holy mess me up!
Scattershot was standing there like she was in another reality, and Compound, who was still bleeding from the bite wounds, just threw me a smile. We had to hurry this up and get us patched up. Those suckers are great at infecting you with centuries-old jaws. Good thing they weren't actual zombies.
What is his magic? What is you?
The Ghoul Master, as I named him, still barely able to move. Suffered the effects of paralysis from my attack earlier, but this time I resorted to the one thing no one had found a counter to, known as leaf logic. I remembered picking up a magic ward back when we helped the Griffins and decided to turn it on, robbing everyone of their magic. Now he had no way of activating those vats, and we could make him talk. So, who exactly are you working for? I was unusually serious. This thing was a threat to Equestria. To every pony, really. If there was more to this madness, I had to stop it in its tracks.
Nothing, just for my ponies. Let me go! My magic, sous allure!
He was wiggling and squirming, his only clothing being a lab coat. He froze the second he felt the cold barrel of Scattershot's gun against his head.
So you're just wanting to kill everyone 'cause you can? Jackass!
Us ghouls are stronger.
Don't exactly think you're stronger than the three of us.
Blood was leaking from Compound's side, where she got bit. A healing potion of hers patched it provisionally, at least. Ghouls have their homes and are part of Equestria, living together peacefully. No need to think there's no space for others out there. That's why the wastelands are even a thing.
You know nothing about the creation of the wastelands.
I know everything about that. I dropped my saddlebag, exposing my wings. And I'm here to fix it so loony hats like you get stopped. I was getting rather emotional. I saw the rise and fall of a land with my own eyes. Nothing will scar you more. I didn't like having to kill or maim ponies, but I knew if he lived on the way he did, he'd start all over again, possibly threatening towns with swarms of ghouls. A new kind of civil war, fighting our own kind this time.
This cannot be. All alicorns have died.
All of them but me, and I will restore Equestria. He started to chuckle.
As a small group? Ha! This is a joke.
I thought about our past, my loved ones, the friends, the partners we've made. I was definitely no loner anymore.
You ain't the only one with friends. At least you don't hide in the dirt and try chewing others up.
Go ahead then. Kill me. Kill me like all the other ghouls.
I think I got an idea. Someplace where we might get info out of you. Ten Pony Tower would love to hear all about your sass, and then they'll wipe your memory. All the knowledge from your past years, gone! I saw Compound and Scattershot look at one another, then at me, and then they understood.
Anything but that. No, I'll speak.
We gave him a chance to talk it out.
This army was supposed to take the country back. The knowledge was from some places from after the war. Long ago, plans about making ghouls from dead and controlling them with magic. The technology was from Canterlot.
Well, if we all go thinking like that, then we're right back to killing each other. More than we're now, and I won't stand for it.
Scattershot lowered her gun. We're also attempting to take this country back through peaceful ways, though. I think Ponykind is stronger when we work together.
You don't hear that every day. Oh well, for ages. Impressive, but naive. And yet, you are strong and have friends.
Just always tough to get everyone on the same page.
His ears finally tilted down.
Peace is hard to make. Impressive to see after centuries. Some haven't given up.
I grinned and helped him up.
You're lucky we ain't raiders, otherwise you'd be decorating the walls.
Compound was sitting there, grinning at me, the type of grin that speaks 1,000 words.
Your goals sound noble. Who would need a ghoul scientist anyway?
I would actually. What field do you specialize in anyway?
Bioengineering and some chemistry.
What about all this stuff you've made over the past years?
Compound seemed a little confused and perplexed.
I guess I must start over. With a fresh mind, and with strong ponies like you, not many armies I've seen can rival that.
What if you meet us later today or tomorrow at 10 Pony Tower anyway? Name's New Leaf. We might be able to talk details there, alright? A slight nod was all we got. Plus it would give me a chance to see how serious he was. I wasn't entirely sure if he was on our page yet, but there was one more thing that had to be done.
That I can do.
I walked over to Compound and whispered something. Her ears shot up in a nod, and she got some empty flasks out. And I turned my ward off. If he would pull a fast one, he'd be down and decorating the walls with his ashes. That much he probably got by now. That, and we would have to teleport out of here. I teleported a very small amount of that pink liquid right out of one of the containers, levitating it in a very, very carefully maintained ball of whatever this liquid was, and ever so slowly dripped some into the vial that Compound was holding, and you could see her mouth turning into a wide grin, like a scientist who made a new discovery. After a few more moments, the sizable ball of liquid was empty, and the vial was full. And you're sure it's fine to have all of this destroyed so it doesn't get into the wrong hooves? Of course we will do further research on these things. He sighed and nodded slowly.
I still don't have enough to make a lot counterfluid. This just needs a revival spell to activate the liquid, and a mind control spell, and skeletons of any kind in the ground here.
That does seem like some interesting spells. I thought out loud and grinned, with Compound just chuckling to herself. That curiosity of discovery really was contagious.
There's a book I can bring along for you to borrow.
The guy got some things together before he headed upstairs, behind me and Scattershot. Compound had a pretty close look on him, and then I did what I had to do, casting a bright, luminescent fireball at each and every pink, bubbly container, breaking every last one. After a few minutes, it was done. The whole place was seeping with pink liquid as it drained away. But no ghouls this time. I still had a few suspicions about this doctor. Very few scientists I've gotten to see and hear about over the past decades really laid down their science just like that, without an immediate, life-threatening grudge to someone. But maybe he was different.
I'm going to get my briefcase. Some bags for my scrolls, books, and equipment before I go to 10 Pony.
He looked at us before trotting off into one of the hallways as we headed upstairs. Just as he left, I cast one final spell, without much remark of my own. But I did have one personal wish that didn't get satisfied since we came in here. In the foyer, we decided to, as a group, go into one of the hallways, see if we could find some loot in the process. The peace and us time gave us a breather to chat without the threat of being chewed upon, looming above us.
I hope he's keeping his word. But if he really wanted to screw us, he would have gone for it when you blew up his stuff. Just coming from a scientist, but that is like someone ripping out of your years of your past. He's probably a little crazy, which is relatable.
We turned right into a bigger hallway. No growling from ghouls or anything. Almost peaceful here. We started to scour through some of the rooms. I think he'll be fine. Plus, if he went through as much time as, well, all ghouls do, maybe he'll understand that there's a better way to bring the lands together. A few broken cabinets inside of some abandoned office room was really the only functional thing down here. Most of the technological stuff, like monitors, were shattered and old beyond anything I could fix. But given my technological bias, that says absolutely nothing. The girls were busy going through some of the desks while I was taking a closer look at one of the cabinets. Ponies usually got pretty careless with their bits here.
Dry as desert.
I heard Scattershot close a desk door behind me as I shut another bitless cupboard. Nothing here.
Yeah.
We left the office, but instead of going to the next door, I had a better idea. Usually all the rich and important stuff was upstairs.
What a day, huh? Well, at least we're not getting stuff rammed into us. Which I guess is good.
Compound just laughed softly as we made our way back into the lobby.
Call it break day, girl.
I call it cider when we're back at 10 Pony.
Definitely. Down!
This time we made our way upstairs, quite a few stories, until I felt lucky enough. No ceiling turrets in this room, which was just a few desks, leading into a hallway branching off. No growling ghouls either. This must either be the quietest monsters ever, or completely uncharted territory, for Wastelanders that was.
Marketing department.
Compound read out loud from a sign above us as we got a move. Many posters were hanging around, designs ranging from copies for power armor, chems, all the way to, of course, promoting the ministry itself, and other ministries. Every print here looked flawless. Specially designed. But they wouldn't fetch any huge caps anywhere since those posters also went about pretty much everywhere.
Look at all this stuff. That's what folks thought was the bee's knees back then. Does look eye-catching, though.
That's both of you, though. I put a hoof around both of my sweet lovelies, getting all of us through together. This far was definitely not something I took for granted. Compound's cheeks immediately became red and her words stuttery.
All right, handsome badass.
Scattershot grinned back at me, pushing her nose right up to mine. My ears went back and I gulped. But I'm super duper innocent. I gave her a firm wink.
Innocent as the night skies, I bet. Yep.
Exactly, that kind of innocence. I admit it as I was caught, and I got some very firm nods and grins. There were quite a few doors here, leading into various offices with names of individual ponies, and one of those doors instantly caught my eyes, as there was a number pad on it.
I got this one.
Scattershot reloaded her shotgun to fire directly at the lock, busting down the door in the process. And inside there was shelves. This must have been some storage. Cardboard boxes, even some small crates. Jackpot! I looked at this room like a foal at their heartwarming Eve presents. We looked through every box, ready to grab anything we could carry. One of these crates had a few basic electronic supplies. I'm sure some tech head would pay a hoof for this. Next, I gazed into a big metal container. Bits. Actual pre-war bits, and quite a bunch at that. I knew these were highly sought after. I was just dumping stuff into my saddlebags like a hoarder, but truth be told, hoarders tend to have better odds of survival in the wastelands. And here we have... I thought loudly as I opened a box with an emblem of the Ministry of Image, aka her cutie mark, and found gemstones. That was a box with rubies, sapphires, and much more. It was a no-brainer that I was gonna take everything.
Damn, you don't see this much loot in a box every day.
Scattershot was gathering what looked like some basic belongings from ponies. Maybe this place was like a locker area for employees to leave their belongings. But as I dumped the contents of the gem box, a letter floated down onto the ground, and Compound also peeked over as I opened it up.
Lunchbox for an amazingly close friend, and helper for anything do not take. Rarity.
Compound read aloud, and I was shocked to the point where my hat fell off my head.
You right there, Leaf?
That was a name I quite literally didn't hear in centuries. But was this a letter from her? It had to have been. That's like a super popular pony for my time. She had a big thing for anything shiny. I finally came out and lifted the mystery behind that name. Definitely was going to hold on to this as a memoir. That's what a pony does whose mind still hangs on to the past.
Must have been so much different back then. I'm lucky that you're stuck here with us, huh?
Compound thought out loud and snuggled me, and Scattershot licked my nose without a word. I looked at both of them and felt this surge of confidence. That firm notion when you know something is gonna go well. I was gonna restore Equestria to its former glory. My past would be our future. Like a tree taking centuries to grow, so have my plans. But with my bonds crafted, I felt like I was on a good way.